and to protect its integrity, dignity, reputation, and privileges. To enforce these essential duties, Congress possesses an inherent power to punish for contempt. Other textbooks from public administration to constitutional law would confirm that the Senate indeed has the power not only to investigate but the duty to ferret out the truth, to gather information, and then make the necessary recommendations, change in laws, strengthening of laws, or the criticism inherent in laws that aren't being implemented well. We respect and support the investigation now ongoing by the Office of the Ombudsman, and we expect them also to respect our role, as the Ombudsman has already stated, that not only do we have different purposes, she has stated this morning that she will use whatever the Senate finds or our findings will be used by their office. We will gladly share all of our transcripts and all the evidence that we have gathered. May I just state that this is a unique opportunity, not only for us to know the truth in this specific case, but this is a unique opportunity, isang oportunidad na bumalik ang pag-asa or hope would return that in fact, ordinary Filipino citizens can talk about renewal in government, can talk about whistleblowers, can talk about corruption, can talk about SOPs, can talk about moderating your greed, can talk about going up against powerful officials and letting them air their side and letting that person air their side, and something good will come out of it. This hearing really is about the essence of good governance, and it is in that hope that we hope to expedite our work, and we hope to come up with the recommendations necessary. Today we will focus on the issue of alleged abduction of Mr. Lusada, and we were hoping to finish it today. But after the remarks of the Senate President and Senator Biason, I will read a letter coming from the other invitees who we expected to be here today. So may we recognize first the Senate President.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just nais ko lang masabihin sa ating po mga kababayan na marami hong tumatawag sa amin para patigilin ng hearing na ito ay grandstanding lamang. Nais ko pong ipaliwanag lamang na kamukha na sinabi na ating chairman na ito po yung ginagawa natin bilang pagtupad sa tungkulin natin sa ayon sa konstitusyon. Ito po ay binigay sa atin at ginagawa lang po namin na aming tungkulin. Pipilitin po namin na maging patas po ang mga hearing. Iimbitahin po namin yung kabilang panig din para maibigay naman yung kanilang panig sa issue na ito. At yung mga katanungan lamang na hindi pa nasasagot ay kailangan lamang masagot. Mahirap naman din po na kung meron tayong madidiskubre na krimen na naganap, kagaya rito sa ZTE deal, hindi naman tayo pwede po na hindi kumibo dito. Sa laki ng halaga na involved, nababayaran po ng ating po mga kababayan. At kung meron nga pong kidnapping na nangyari, lalo na tayo hindi po pwedeng kumibo. Dahil pag hindi po tayo kumibo, baka mangyari sa atin ito, o mangyari po sa ating mga anak sa darating na panahon. Pag hindi tayo kumibo ay wala na po tayo masisising iba. So ipagpauban ninyo doon sa tumatawag po na itigil na ang hearing. Hindi po ito grandstanding, ginagawa lamang po namin na aming tungkulin.
Senator Biason.
No opening statement. I'll just ask questions, Mr. Chairman.
Likewise, we have no opening statement.
Mr. Chairman.
The Majority Leader,
Yes,
Senator
if I may suggest, because earlier the chairman said that he will read the letter coming from a lawyer, just to expedite the matter. Perhaps the chairman can just provide us the salient features, and then the letter itself be provided copy. We be provided copies of the letter, but the salient features of the letter be placed on record.
Thank you very much, the Majority Leader. We are distributing the letters now. Just before that, just for a simple report, that on Thursday, February 14, Senator Hunasan, Chairman Biason, the Senate President, and myself went for an ocular inspection in the international airport. And aside from going through the route where Mr. Lusada was allegedly brought, we were showed a diagram of where they usually bring arriving passengers and where Mr. Lusada was brought. And aside from that, we gathered some evidence or some resource materials by looking at the logbooks. And these logbooks provided us with certain leads. For example, in the basement logbook, the alleged vehicle where the government testified that Mr. Losada was escorted into, the gray Corolla Altis ZCJ556, the entry in the logbook said park on board PSG going upstairs. And then at that was 3:30. At 4:50, it says all vehicles parked move out upon arriving of VIP together with General Atutubo. The same thing with the west basement logbook, wherein at 4:20 it stated General Atutubo on board with service vehicle and WAA 525 pass through, proceed to Dignitaries Lounge with escort. And then it stated that at 4:30, all areas engineer Lina here to assist came out the vehicle with plate number ZCJ556 and waiting to aboard by VIP packs or person due by using elevator. Then 16:48 move out, 16:50 General Atutubo, Engineer Lina, and Captain Ramilla came out here. They used the elevator to assist arrival passenger to board vehicle ZCJ556. After a minute, they moved out also with their services and then a plate number. We're using this to find out the details and the truth of the testimonies of the different personalities invited here for today. On the very next day, we had a technical working group wherein we invited to the committee PSPO officials, Bureau of Immigration officials, and NAIA officials. Also in attendance were the staffs of Senator Loren Legarda, Senator Noynoy Aquino, and other members of the Blue Ribbon Committee. And here they confirmed what Chairman Senator Biason found out when he proceeded to the immigration during the ocular inspection, that one, and may I read from the report, Attorney Gary Mendoza, the Chief of Immigration Regulation Division Bureau of Immigration, declared that they were informed that Mr. Losada will be under the protection of the PSPO upon his arrival. They were not informed. Two, Attorney Mendoza also informed Mr. Losada was in their watch list. He confirmed they were in their watch list. The effect of the watch list is to require the Bureau to inform the person agency who requested that certain person be placed therein has indeed arrived in the Philippines. Number three, the standard procedure for the Bureau of Immigration is that all passengers who disembark from the arrival plane was to require them to pass through immigration to have their passport stamped for that record purposes. In the case of Mr. Losada, if he vanished from the airport without his passport being stamped as per their records, the presumption of the Immigration Bureau would be that he did not arrive in the Philippines. In the absence of any other evidence that would show that his body was seen in the country, the only record available that would show that he boarded the plane is the manifesto. So we asked whether the manifesto should be part of the documents that would be used. Lastly, we asked Senior Superintendent Retrado of the Chief of Operations of PSPO about the standard operating procedure of asking for security detail. He said that normally a request letter is necessary before the assignment of security detail to an individual other than the President and the Vice President. Also, a threat assessment must be made first by the Director in cases within Metro Manila and by the Regional Director in cases outside Manila, to determine the number of persons to be assigned to secure the person, taking into account the consideration that what happened to Mr. Losada, the two normal procedures were not followed. Police Superintendent Retrado claimed that in the case of Mr. Losada was exceptional, but why it is exceptional, no details followed. Lastly, the NAIA official stated that PSG officers are not allowed inside the tube. Lastly, after the ocular inspection in the TWG, the TV network showed the video from the NAIA showing that there was an unidentified man, which one station identified as a PSG official. We are writing the PSG to ask them to name the persons, the people who they sent to NAIA, and we are asking NAIA officials, General Tutubo, to furnish us again with the other video or the colored video. We also requested Xerox copies of the last logbook upon the exit, and I waited an hour and my staff waited 2 hours for it. But after confirming that there are logbooks in the last gate, we were told that there are no logbooks afterwards. Also, the Mr. Valeroso, according to General Atutubo, does not have a season pass. He has a special access pass like we had when we visited, and they gave us this printout to prove it. We followed the number of the pass and again waited for an hour, and our staff waited for 2 hours. We asked them to print this out, but we left without them giving that. No, so we will issue the necessary subpoenas to ask for these additional documents. We were really hoping that they would be here today, but as the majority leader said, they sent a letter, and since the lawyers are not allowed to speak in this committee under our rules and only to give advice to their clients, basically the lawyer, the Verano Law Office, is writing in behalf of Police Chief Superintendent Hilumen, Police Superintendent Paul Mascareñas, Chief Superintendent Morada, Assistant General Manager Atutubo, Mr. Rodolfo Valeroso, and 5 security detail of the Police Security and Protection Office, PSPO, as their counsel. So 1 counsel for all of them. And he's stating that because Senator Jambi Madrigal filed a case for obstruction of justice, they're basically claiming that this investigation is no longer in aid of legislation, but since it is basically in aid of prosecution, they are not honoring our invitation. No? And let me just mention before any member would like to comment that it is very clear in the case of Sabio versus Gordon, page 739, volume 504, volume 504, scrap, page 739, anent the right against self-incrimination. It must be emphasized that this right may be invoked by the said directors and officers of Philcomsat Holding Corporation only when the incriminating question is being asked, since they have no way of knowing in advance the nature or effect of the questions to be asked. The right that this right may be possibly violated or abused is no ground for denying the respondent Senate committees their power of inquiry. And in the last paragraph of that page, the same directors that the Senate is barred from, the same directors and officers contend that the Senate is barred from inquiring to the same issues being litigated before the Court of Appeals and Sandigan Bayan. Suffice it to state that the Senate Rules of Procedures inquiries in aid of legislation provide that the filing or pendency of any prosecution of criminal or administrative action should not stop or abate any inquiry to carry out a legislative purpose. I think that is very clear, and I think it's very clear to this committee that we will require the said gentlemen who were mentioned to attend this hearing, because it's only by that means that we may be able to ferret out the truth. No? The majority leader.
Just an administrative matter. Are we going to have them subpoenaed, or have they been subpoenaed, or was it just an invitation?
If there are no objections, I will issue the subpoena and we will have a hearing on Thursday, because it is our commitment that we would like to finish this abduction issue today. But since they're not here, we'll hopefully finish it this week. No, so if there's no objections, the 3 chairmen will issue the subpoenas to the said persons that I mentioned.
And one more point, Mr. Chairman. With respect to the logbooks, I read over the newspapers that there were plate numbers to the vehicles that supposedly Mr. Lozada was made to ride out, going outside from the airport tarmac to wherever it was he was brought. Perhaps we can request the LTO for the car registration of these and the owners of the said vehicles that have been identified.
We will comply with that.
Chairman,
Chairman Biasa.
just administrative questions. We had invited certain personalities even before we started the hearings here. May I know if the first gentleman was invited? in previous?
We have prepared the invitations without dates for all those mentioned last hearing, including the first gentleman, Mr. Razon, Mr. Ruben Reyes, etc. But
Yes.
we will invite them when we tackle the merits or the substance of the ZTE corruption case, Mr.
How
Chairman.
about former Chairman Avalos?
We have not invited him for the abduction issue yet, but he is included in those we will invite for. We were hoping to have that on Thursday or next week, but
Yes.
because of the non-attendance today of many, and may I just note, Mr. Chairman, that in the beginning of the hearings, all of the officials attended. Then when a case was filed in the Ombudsman, they started not to attend, claiming that. But when another witness came out, they started to attend again. No? And they attended last Monday, and then suddenly, now that we're going to confront them with conflicting statements, we asked the committee staff to prepare what they said and what Mr. Losada said and what we found out, so that they will have a chance to answer and to clarify why there's an inconsistency, even in their statements in media and their statements under oath in this committee.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not taking away from any agency their obligation to do their duty. And definitely it's the duty of those agencies concerned to take a look at any report of wrongdoings by public officials, because it is their functions. I'm just concerned of the scheduling of the hearing this morning by the Ombudsman. And second, I am concerned with the possibility that the findings in the Ombudsman could be different from the findings of the Senate conducting the hearing. And if that happens, then no one can prevent a perception being developed in the minds of people that one is preempting the other. I'm just concerned about this because if this point is reached, then we are looking at a further weakening of institutions in this country, whether it is the Senate, whether it is the Ombudsman, Office of the Presidency, etc., etc. So maybe we will have to sort this thing out so that if we are going to schedule the next hearing, if we may have to consult with other agencies undertaking and mounting similar activities so that we will not be conducting this in conflict, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Senator Pimentel.
I'm a little disappointed that now that I'm here, they are not here. In other words, but probably the next time around, we will have the pleasure of meeting them directly and personally. Now, 3 points, Mr. Chairman. On the issue raised by Senator Biason, I'm not worried about that. In the same manner that we can conduct an investigation while there are investigations in other agencies, the Ombudsman has every right to investigate the matter and come out with its findings. The merit of the findings of the Ombudsman would depend on the rationality of it, on the impartiality of it. In the same manner that our findings will have much weight if it is done with non-partisanship and based upon the truth. So, if we will go into the matter of, oh my God, what is that other agency of government doing? So we defer our own action. I don't think we will get anywhere. My suggestion is we go full steam forward and damn the torpedoes, as they say. Now, Mr. Chairman, I would like to request formally that the president of ZTE, what's his name, Mr. Yu Yong, I think, be subpoenaed. I think it is not good for our people to see that we run only after the crooks in our government, not after those who are corrupting them. In other words, the ZTE will be given all the chance to show that the contract is above board, but let us not give them the pleasure of ignoring previous invitations on the pretext that they have no They have no address here. Oh, my goodness.
The motion, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, thank you, sir, but I'm not through yet. Okay. So, let us proceed and issue a subpoena to Mr. Yu Yong. If he cannot be reached, then this committee should write the boards in Hong Kong to delist ZTE from its list of shareholders that are being sold internationally, because we could invoke our right with the Hong Kong authorities. We have an extra, what do you call it? Mutual legal assistance treaty with them. We can allege that and ask them to give us all the information about this so-called president of the CTE, and so we can have jurisdiction over his person and compel him to testify. Secondly, the commercial attaché, Miss Fan, I think, of the Chinese embassy, has been mentioned several times by many witnesses here as having been present during conference with Mr. Abalos, and because he or she, well, could be a diplomat and would enjoy certain immunities, I would like to suggest that we invite her formally, and if she does not come, we should declare him persona non grata so that China can recall her and replace her with another one. The third point, Mr. Chairman, of the agents of government who allegedly abducted June Losada, I get mixed signals that not all of them are members of the PNP. In other words, it looks like PNP authorities are wary of breaking the law in this regard, but some agents coming from other units are trying to muddle up the affair by pretending to be, members of the Philippine National Police. So in our findings, in our investigation, Mr. Chairman, it would do us well if we could identify who are PNP members, regular PNP members. I understand Mr. Valeroso used to be with the PSG or some other unit, and that some people of the PSG were there, riding on the pretext that this was a PNP operation. The presence of the PSG, Mr. Chairman, in that incident involving the abduction of June Losada would indicate that there are certain personalities more powerful than just the ordinary cops who were there perhaps to assist June Losada. So we should identify these people and sanction them whenever that is justified, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, it's
Senator
related
Lacson.
to what Senator Pimentel I just manifested. For the information of the Joint Committee, I wrote a letter to the Chinese ambassador requesting assistance for the availability of Ms. Fan Yang and Yu Yong. So that's just for the information of the body.
Thank you, Senator Lacson. First of all, on the issue of coordinating with the other agencies, we will send them the dates that we will be having hearings, and we will be looking at the dates that they will be having hearings so that the witnesses will not be confused. I heard that there is also a court hearing on Thursday for the hearing on the petition for the writ of amparo. So we may have the hearing Thursday or Friday. We will coordinate, sir. But in fact, the Ombudsman herself has already stated that there are different purposes. Our hearing is in aid of legislation. Their hearing is for prosecutorial purposes. I heard her say this morning that she will use our findings, and we will make that available to them. On the second point, there has been a lot of claims that this hearing might endanger our relations with China, with the people's, with China. And we have stated at the beginning of this hearing that so far there is no allegation that we're dealing with China, the country. We're dealing with one of their companies. And in fact, I thank Senator Lacson for writing the Chinese ambassador, because as we will want to hold our people and our companies and our officials accountable, I'm sure China would also like to hold their agents and their corporations accountable. So we will comply with the request of Senator Pimentel and also do what Senator Lacson said. And lastly, regarding the members of the police who are not here today, no, I'm really disappointed because they're all over media. I mean, even in the program where hinarap ni Mr. Losada sila sabay-sabay, they were all present, no? Pero hindi under oath 'yon. They're not afraid that they will say something that will incriminate themselves. But suddenly, when I have the hearing here and all senators can ask them questions, biglang incriminating na. When we had the ocular inspection, General Atutubo told us that when they went downstairs, wala silang kasamang iba kung hindi si Assistant GM Lina and si Mr. Valeroso. Pero nung nakita ko yung logbook na may Captain Ramilla, bigla niya sinasabing ASG si Captain Ramilla. So how can we find out when Chief Superintendent Morada will not even come here and they will not even answer our question? So I agree, Senator Pimentel, our minority leader, that we will require them, no, to come here. And maybe the media can also help us. I don't think they should be allowed access to interviews unless they're doing it under oath. Baka pwedeng pag may interview, under oath din sila, no? But it's so difficult that they say something different on media and here, then they can choose when to come here and when not to come here, no? So the committees will exercise its rights and obligations and its duty, and we will fulfill its obligation and duties in requiring them to come here.
Mr. Chairman,
Senator Estrada.
in connection with your opening statement, and with regard to the logbook that the committee has been asking, may I request that we subpoena duces tecum these documents for the benefit of the committee, Mr. Chairman?
We have copies and we took pictures, but we will comply and we will issue those subpoenas. Senator Enrile first, then Chairman Biasa.
I wanted
sorry,
to acknowledge
Senator
Senator Enrile because he indicated early on that he was desiring to say something.
I seconded the motion of the distinguished minority floor leader. Am I on deck to ask questions?
Not yet. I'll just recognize the senators, then ask the Director General to put under oath. Yes, Senator Madrigal.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to read for the record of the Senate the reasons I cited in my affidavit for filing the case, since it is being invoked by those who did not appear today.
Yes, please proceed.
It's not very long. Complaint affidavit. I, Mariana Consuelo Madrigal, of legal age, married Filipino with office address at room 510, Senate of the Philippines, GSIS Building, CCP Complex, Pasay City, after being duly sworn in accordance with the law, hereby divorce and state that what brought down President Richard Nixon was not any involvement in planning the burglary of the Democrat National Committee's Watergate offices, but his efforts while president to obstruct the investigation of that crime. Number one, I'm filing the instant complaint for obstruction of justice as a member of the Senate to thwart further attempts to influence, obstruct, or impede the due administration of justice, which covers not only the execution of the Senate's lawful processes, but extends to criminal prosecutions and civil proceedings in connection with the highly irregular transactions involving the National Broadband NBN project, ZTE project of the government. This complaint is an earnest effort to help protect the integrity of legal proceedings and at the same time protect those individuals who participate in such proceedings. Number three, I am a member of the Senate Committees on Accountability and Public Officers, National Defense and Security, and Trade and Commerce, which were the committees conducting investigation concerning the anomalous NBN ZTE project. And four, the conscious efforts of the respondents in this case to cover up the highly anomalous NBN ZTE deal by preventing witnesses from testifying or reporting the crime was not merely a separate criminal offense, but an offense arguably even more serious than the crime they sought to cover up. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Madrigal. May I just acknowledge that Senator Villar, Senator Pangilinan, Senator Estrada, Senator Pimentel, Senator Pia Cayetano, Senator Lacson, Senator Biason, Senator Madrigal, Senator Enrile, Senator Rojas, and Senator Escudero. And here with us today is Engineer Rodolfo Losada, Ms. Carmen Losada, and Brother Felipe Belleza. May I ask the Director General to put Ms. Carmen Losada and Brother Felipe under oath, please.